Hello, welcome back to Cracking the Cryptic, and don't forget to have a go at the puzzle hunt on Patreon, which is called Dangerous to Know this month. You have until the 20th to enter it as a competition, and we're featuring puzzles sent to us by some really rather nasty people, so do give it a try, save the world if you can, and join us on Patreon because it's great fun and there's loads of other content. It's also great fun to try our apps, which are on the links under the video as well. There are 9 of them, and they have a number of brilliant hand-designed puzzles, a large number. Very good value there. Also, as it is, if you were to get Sven's SUDOKU pad or any of our merchandise, slightly more questionable value there, but I am wearing my Cracking the Cryptic, can you see that logo? There, yes, Cracking the Cryptic hoodie today, because we're supporting the merch. Okay, that's what you can do on the links under the video. The other thing you can do is click on the first link and play this puzzle in our software. It's by Good City, who has been, I think from this year or just the end of last year, constructing puzzles, and they've been pretty impressive. He's already featured 3 times on the channel. Being solved by both Simon and myself, so I'm going to be having a go at this puzzle, which has been recommended by a friend of the channel. Good City didn't send this to us himself, in fact. Somebody else said, this one's good fun. And I'm going to have a go at it. I'm intrigued that there are only 2 clues outside the grid. Let's go through the rules and you'll see what sort of clues these are. So first of all, normal Sudoku rules apply. We'll be putting 1 to 9 in every row, every column, and every 3 by 3 box. Now, 5s live in Dutch flats. And we have used this rule once before. I'm going to admit that I didn't know it had a specific name. I think it was in a puzzle that mentioned foggy flats in the title. So I hadn't really understood these flats. But the rule is this. All 5s in the grid must have a 1 directly above it or a 9 directly below it. So each 5 in the grid must have a 1 directly above it or a 9 directly below it. It may have both, but it doesn't need both. So if there's a 5 in this cell, then either that's a 1 or this is a 9, or both of those are true, which is a weird sort of either or conditional rule that we don't normally have to deal with, and I think that's why it gave me trouble last time. Anyway, what always gives me trouble is numbered rooms clues, and these are the clues outside the grid. A clue outside the grid indicates the digit which has to be placed in the nth cell in the corresponding direction, where n is the digit placed in the first cell in that direction. So if this was a 6, this 5 outside the grid has to be placed in the 6th cell in this direction, which would be there. So that's how that rule works. I mean, intriguing that you can have so many of the same digit outside the grid. And also intriguing that kind of numbered rooms and Dutch flatmates or Dutch flats link up as 2 sort of accommodation-based puzzle types or variant types. Anyway, that is what we have going on. I am going to try and solve the puzzle now, and I'm going to say the immortal phrase, let's get cracking. Ooh, I nearly hit the wrong button and stopped the recording. Let's hit the right button and restart the clock and get cracking. Okay, so what on earth do we do with these clues? One of the first things I'm going to observe is that a numbered rooms clue can never have the first digit of a 1 unless that numbered rooms clue is a 1 itself. So if we had a 1 here, that would say that this 1 is in cell 1 in this direction, which is fair enough, there it is. But if we had a 1 here, that would say that 5 is in the first cell in this direction, and it can't be because we've just posited 1 in it. So none of these in the top row have a 1 as their first digit. Actually, do we have some sort of entropy thing going on? We do down here. The 1s in these 3 columns, one of them is going to be in box 3, one of them's in box 6, and one of them is in box 9. And that means one of these is going to be representing rows 1 to 3. One of them is rows 4 to 6, and one of them is 7, 8, 9. And that's what we call, for historical Sudoku reasons, an entropic relationship. Okay, now I'm going to look at the other rule. 5s live in Dutch flats. Every 5 in the grid has a 1 directly above it or a 9 directly below it. But here is a knowledge bomb. There is a 5 in the top row. That cannot have a 1 directly above it. It would be outside the grid. Therefore, it does have a 9 directly below it. Just as we have said that these 6 digits can't be 1s, I'm now going to say they can't be 5s either. And my reasoning for that is that if you put a 5 here, it would be saying that there's a 5 in the 5th cell in this direction, which would be there, and that would be straight away a clash of 5. So that applies to all these places and says there is a 5 in one of these cells. And what I've just said about that 5 in the top row having to have a 9 below it means there's a 9 in one of these. Now I'm conscious I'm corner marking across boxes, but that's all I can do. But hang on. Can that be a 9? That would say that there was a 5 in that cell, and that would be impossible. Right. None of these cells can have a 5 in because they've got 5 clues on both ends of the row, and that would immediately create a clash. Just as putting a 5 there would require a 5 there, putting a 5 here would require a 5 here, and that's a nasty clash. So I don't think either of these can be a 9, because on the other side of the grid it would cause a 5 to appear, which would cause one of these nasty clashes. So they're not 9s, and this is a 9 and our first cell in the grid. And we worked out that wherever 5 appeared in the top row, it had 9 in the bottom row, I mean in row 2. And therefore that 5 is sitting pretty there. And that doesn't give us a digit here. It doesn't even help with this one at all. But we've got 2 digits in our grid. I suppose I also know that these digits, which I already knew couldn't be 1, can't be 2 or 3, because that would require 5 to go in these cells. I know that these digits, none of them can be 4, 5 or 6. Actually, what do I know about? Oh no, first of all, I might come back to those. First of all, just as there's a 5 in the top row, there's a 5 in the bottom row. That can't have a 9 beneath it. So the 5 in the bottom row has a 1 in this row above it. Now, none of these cells can be a 5. That's not true. They can all be a 5 because that just says put a 1 in row 5. Oh, bother. Oh, well, it's not such an interesting shout for the bottom row. Wherever 5 is in the bottom row, there is a 1 above it in row 8. Oh, I see. That can't be in any of these rows with a 1 clue, because if you had a 1 in that cell, this clue at the bottom would require that digit to be a numbered room 2. And then you wouldn't have 1 above 5, you'd have 1 above 2. But we're saying that wherever 5 is here, 1 is above it. So now 5 is in one of those 3 columns in the bottom row with 1 directly above it. And that's quite interesting. Now the 1 in this column can't, no, I was going to say it can't be in that box, but if that was a 1, it could be there or there. Okay, I haven't got that yet. Now if this was a 5, that would be a 9. In one, yes, that's it. Whichever one of these is a 5, look, they're all in columns with a 5 clue. Whichever one of those is a 5, the numbered room up here has to be a 9. Well, that can't be in those cells because of this. So we can stick a 9 in there and a 5 in here and a 1 in here, and we are underway officially. Oh, that's really interesting. It's very clever setup as well. I'm quite an admirer. But we've still got work to do, obviously. Hasn't really done a lot more than put in 5 digits in the puzzle. Ah. Okay, somewhere in row 2 there is a 5. Now that 5 either has a 1 above it or a 9 below it by the Dutch flats rule. To have a 1 above it, it would have to be in one of these cells, and that is immediately broken based on the 5 clues in row 2. If you had a 5 there, it would be saying put a 5 here. If you had a 5 there, it would be saying put a 5 here. So they are not the 5s. Therefore, wherever 5 is in row 2, it has a 9 beneath it. And the only places for 9 in row 3 now by Sudoku are those. So 5 is in one of those 3 cells, sitting with a 9 below it. It's not here, because the numbered room clue would have to be a 1, and it can't be. It would be, yeah. So it is, this is a 2 or a 3. This is putting a 5 in one of those cells, and I don't think it can be there for the same reasons we keep rehearsing. So there's a 5 in one of those, and this is 7 or 8. Now, one of these is now a 2 because there's a 5 in one of those cells. That's beautiful. That's the numbered room operating. So this becomes a 3. That places 5 here. That makes that one a 2. It lets us get rid of those pencil marks. This digit is known because 5 is in cell 7 from this side. And one of these two has to be a 3. Oh yes, look, we've got a 5 looking at that cell where I placed a putative 5. That's a 5. This is a 3. That's a 2. And this is an 8. And they're all pointing at these 5s. And actually, let's just colour in the cells where we've worked out the numbered room clue in total. Look, all of those, they're all done. So we've only got these 3 clues left to fit 5s to from outside the grid. Done very little on 1s from the bottom. Oh, and this one as well. Okay, Sudoku might ride to the rescue here. 39521, this digit is 4, 6 or 7 by Sudoku. So that's putting a 5 in one of those cells in the column. These are from 4, 6, 7 or 8. Can't rule 8 out there. And those are putting 5s somewhere here in their respective columns. Now I've got to think about the Dutch flats rule again, I presume. Oh, I've got to think about it here, obviously. I need either a 1 above, which is impossible, or a 9 below. So 9 goes below. Actually, that's how I got to 5s being in one of those cells, so I should have remembered that. This one either needs a 1 there or a 9 there. And this is where this conditional rule gets quite difficult to work with, because I can't resolve that yet, as far as I know. And I can't find a way of pencil marking it that satisfies me. Oh, has this become some sort of swordfish where 5s have to be in these positions? Does that mean I know that this is 4, 6 or 8? Probably wouldn't help even if I did, but it sort of feels weird, as though maybe I do know something. Ah, this is this 1 clue at the bottom. Let's look at the 1s now. The 1 clue at the bottom is putting 1 in one of those 6 cells. Well, by Sudoku, this can't be a 2 or a 5. So this is 1, 3, 4 or 6, putting a 1 in one of those cells. The 1 here, oh, it could be a 9, sticking a 1 up there. Ah, in fact, in one of these corners at the bottom of the grid, there is a 9, because one of these is a 1, and they're both columns with clues under the grid. So one of those two is a 9. This one is 4, 5, 6 or 8. Well, it's not allowed to be 5 by Sudoku, so it's 4, 6 or 8. Putting 1 in one of those places. I'm pretty sure that this has to be 4, 6 or 8. But I'm just a tiny bit scared to rule out a 9 there yet, so I'm not going to. It probably wouldn't profit greatly if I did. Now, this is 4, 6 or 8, so 1 is in one of those cells. What about this one? It's not 1, 2 or 3, or 5 or 7. It can't be 8, so it's 4, 6 or 9. I don't think this is the way to solve the puzzle, but this can't be a 1 anymore in its row. And that is because this digit would become a 3. It would have to number the room looking upwards there. And that can't be a 3 because of this. In fact, we're not going to get a 3 in the corner in this puzzle. But anyway, this can't be a 1. So it's going to put 1 in one of those cells. Not there, because it can't be a 3 itself. So this is 2, 4, 5 or 6. Now I have a feeling it can't be 5, but that is not a justified feeling yet. Sorry, I'm probably missing something quite holistic about the puzzle now. Okay. None of these cells are 2s, because that would put a 1 in one of these cells by the numbered rooms rule. Therefore, 2 in the bottom row is in one of those cells. What I've kind of worked out is that those 3 cells point to where 1s are in their columns, and they are the digits that, well, I suppose okay, if I can find 1s in those columns, these numbers are a mix of them, and I've got that one. Okay, it's hard to explain what I'm seeing there, but I am seeing it. None of these can be 2s. Now, don't forget the Dutch flats rule, because I've forgotten that again. These 5s, they either need a 1 above them or a 9 below them. I don't know how to use that. 2, 7, 3, 9, 5. That can be 1, 4, 6 or 8. There's a 2 in one of those cells. That's an X-wing on 2s with 2s there. So there's a 2 in one of those cells. Doesn't look like that does anything, and fair play to it. Now the 1 there's a 1 marked in this row as well. I don't know what to do with that. These ones are much more promising, aren't they? Oh, one of these is putting a 1 into this box, because the other one is putting a 1 in this box. So either that's a 9 or that's an 8, which is a bit weird. Right, whichever one of these first or final columns has a 1 and 9 in, where is 5 in that column by the Dutch flats rule? And the answer is, it can't be under the 1, so it must be just above the 5. So one of these 2 digits is a 5. We know which one thanks to that. So we can stick a 5 in here. This is the column with 9 and 1 in the corners. There we go. Let's get rid of 9 out of that corner, 1 out of that one, and we are buzzing now. Now, that 5, yes, I'm also going to colour the 5s where we've obeyed the Dutch flats rule already, those ones. Now there is a 5 in one of those 2, which either has a 1 above it or a 9 below it. I've only just realised how appropriate the colour orange is for the Dutch flats rules. Hurrah! That's not a 5. So there's either 9 there, because this can't be a 9, or there's a 1 there, because this can't be 1. Am I saying this cell is either 1 or 9? I am. That's so weird. That's one of these weird conditional things. And if that's a 5, that's a 9. If that's a 5, that's a 1. Now we have got a swordfish on these 5s. That is where the 3 5s go in these columns, and therefore where the 3 5s in these rows go, must be. And this digit is 4, 6, or 8, pointing to a 5 being in one of those cells. Also, these can't be 8s anymore, and the 8 in the row goes in the corner. And that can't be an 8 now, and therefore this can't be a 5, and therefore this is a 5. That's now a 9 to obey the Dutch rooms rule. We can get rid of 5s out of those cells. These don't have a 4 in, they are a 6, 7 pair. This is a 4, which is obviously giving that 5, and I can colour that yellow because we've done that rule outside the grid. This one is choosing one of those, as are those two in that pair. Okay, good. Now, one of those 5s has a, no, I was going to say has a 9 beneath it, but it doesn't have to, does it? This 5 still either has to have 1 there or 9 there, and we don't know. And there's a 5 in column 1 somewhere, and it's here. And that needs either a 9 below it, which it can't have, or a 1 below it, which it must have. And now, is that all that's done? It gives us a 3, 9 pair down here. This, oh, it tells us what this 1 numbered room clue is. That's a 6. So 4 there, this is, neither of these are 6s. 3, 9, 6, 1, 5. This is saying that there is a 1 either there, or there can't be a 1 here by Sudoku, so there's a 1 there. This is an 8. These clues are both done in yellow, aren't they? This one is done. Now, where's 1 in this column? Well, it's in one of those 3 cells, so this is also 1, 3, or 4. Now, one of those is pointing to the 1 in this box, and the other one is pointing to a 1 in one of those cells. So one of those is a 1, one of these is a 1, that is 4, 5, or 6, but it can't be 5 by Sudoku, so that can't be 1. So we've definitely got a 1 in one of those cells, which is going to sit very nicely, probably, above the 5 in its column. We need a 7 in one of these. Oh, that is a 6, 7 pair that is in fact resolved by Sudoku. I haven't looked at the Sudoku aspects of this puzzle for a little while. Let's do that. Then I can fill in 4, 6 here. This is now a 2, 8 pair. This is a 1, 3, 4 triple. These are 2, 4, and 7. I feel like I ought to know the order somehow, but I don't. That can't be a 4 by Sudoku. Ah, and therefore this 1 is in one of these 2 cells and not there. One of them had to be a 4, so that's the 1, that's the 4. That goes yellow. This doesn't yet. There's a 1 in one of those 2 cells. And here, where are the 1s in these columns? I don't know as much as I thought I did about 1s actually at the moment. 1, 5, 9, 4, 6, 1, 5. I thought this puzzle would have fallen apart once we got this much in it, and I'm totally wrong about that. 6, 8, 5, 4, 9. So down here we have 1, 2, 3, or 7. So this is pointing, well, this can't be a 2, because otherwise we'd put a 1 there. It's pointing to one of those cells for the 1. Ah, it can't be there because this would be a 5. In fact, this is 2, 4, or 6. This is saying there's a 1 somewhere in one of these 3. Okay, so that can't be a 3. That's all I learnt there, I think. And still, I don't know where the 1 is in this column. Maybe I need to do the Dutch flats thing again. Oh, look, I've satisfied this one. Hadn't even seen that. This one is satisfied. Yeah, I've satisfied all the ones I've written in orange. Right, these 5s either need a 1, okay, the 5 that's in this row can't have a 1 above it now by Sudoku, so it must have a 9 beneath it in one of those 2 cells. And that sorts out my 3-9 pair at least. And this 5 now can't have a 9 below it and must have a 1 above it. That's weird, but makes sort of logical sense. So we've got either 1-5 there and 5-9 there, or the other way around. Okay, come on, let's just finish this off. Oh look, I've got that 4 sitting in the grid, not yellowed. Once I place it, that gives me 5 there. That needs a 1 above it. Then we get 5 here, which needs 9 beneath it. And now I've probably done, well, very nearly all the clues. I think I'm still looking at that one, actually, and maybe that one. But I can yellow, oh look, I can actually fill in the digits here. That's 6 and that's 7. And they go yellow. This one, no, I haven't placed the 1, but I have here, that's a 6. This can't be a 6, and now it can't be a 4 because we can't get a 1 in there, so that's a 2. And these both go yellow, and I think that now becomes a 3 and goes yellow. And we take 3 out of these cells. Oh, we know, no, this isn't pointing to a 1, it's this column is the last digit. And I still don't know which of those is a 1. If I do, well then I don't. I mean, if I do, I don't know how I know it, and I therefore don't know it. But I can do Sudoku in the corner boxes. In fact, they're all finished now. 3, 8, this is an I-wing, that's a 2, that's not a 2. This is a 7-4 pair that are resolved. That's a 3-8 pair. This is a 4-6 pair that's resolved. That can't be a 7. I mean, this clue is going to probably fix everything. Well, we've still got all the Dutch flats. No, they're all done. All the Dutch flats clues are done and satisfied. So we don't have to worry about that rule anymore. So let's get 1s out of those possible cells. What have we got going on in this column? We've got, oh, I've got 4 looking up at that cell. So that's 3. That looks at that cell, which is 8. That looks at this cell, which is 2, and that fixes 7. So column 4 was the absolute key to finishing off. Now that 1 is satisfying itself as a clue. It's also doing a bit of Sudoku in the top 3 rows for me. Now I've just got the middle 3 rows to go. 4 there, surrounded by a 3-6 pair. This one is a 9. These are 2, 7 and 8. I can fill in 8 there and a 2, 7 pair. These are 2, 3, 8. That one must be a 3. Row 6 is going to finish now. And on its way, it's going to take out all the other rows and columns and boxes and everything. And this puzzle is suddenly complete. That's a very neat puzzle by Good City. Again, lovely stuff. 24.5 minutes, great fun. Let's like it. Let's say yes. And what a super puzzle. Very entertaining stuff, as you would expect from a very entertaining constructor. And thank you for the recommendation as well. Really good. So hope you enjoyed that. Dutch Flatmates, Numbered Rooms by Good City. We'll be back with more variant Sudoku, I'm sure, tomorrow. And we look forward to seeing you then. Bye for now.